Y'all. The girlies were right. They're hardly ever wrong. But they were especially right for this one. They were especially right for this one. Okay. A, it looks fall. B, it's fantasy, dark academic. That's two of my favorite things in the whole world. This is like, I read all of this side, in one sitting because I just could not get enough. I'm really focused on the writing, which is good, but I'm trying to just like immerse myself so that I can forget that I'm a person. And I'm struggling with that because I'm taking so many lit classes and writing classes about everything I read. I have to analyze, so I'm struggling to like stop paying attention to that and just like fall into the story. But like it did start happening once I was able to like relax and read for a few pages and get focused, and then I was in the flow. And it's magnificent. I love Rin's character so much. She's not like other girls, but she is. But without being like, I'm not like other girls, you know? Like she is still like, man, they're so awesome and refined and beautiful. Not, they care about their looks, but she's like, wow, they're so awesome and refined and beautiful. And that's just not me, girl. So like, I love her for that. The writing is beautiful. I love the writing. I love the story. It's so far somewhat, it's a little bit predictable, but I didn't read the summary and I haven't looked at any summaries, so like I don't know what's about to happen next. She's already, you know, been through a full year at her school. But anyways, I love the learning. I love that she's incredibly smart and awesome, and I love that she goes to a prestigious academy, and I love that it's fantasy, like people. So I love all those things. All those aspects are just amazing. I love the characters. I love the world. There are a few parts where it's a lot of information at one time, but I made a goal not to annotate, which sounds weird because most people make goals to annotate, but I made a goal not to annotate so that I could really just fall into the world and not have to worry about writing things down. So I probably will do a reread. I'm only this much in and I'm like, reread. So yeah, new favorite book just dropped. Good news. This might not be good news to everyone. The main characters, all of them, are all morally gray. It's so good. Because you know how I was like, oh my god, I love Rin. But she has a flaw. She has a fatal flaw. And it's a really good one. And so it makes her very imperfect, and it makes it, she's complicated. And I can see how she's gonna go downhill. And I really like the complexity. I'm on page 227. This cannot be happening. I don't think I've ever gotten this upset, this close to crying, this early in a book. One of my predictions was right, but at what cost? I'm on page 256. And I'm really, really upset. This is like Game of Thrones. No one is safe. Good news. The reason that I was upset, my bed's not made, that's embarrassing, hasn't been officially unresolved, but there is hope. And where there is hope, there is me. I will cling onto the last shred of hope of my favorite things happening until the book is over. So I'm crossing my fingers. I'm on page 268 and now I have to actually do homework. I just had to close my blinds because I forgot that they were open. So I don't know, anyone walking along the courtyard could have just peeped in to see me reading this like this. That exact expression. Actually, my back is to the window, so they would have just seen my my terrible posture. In any case, I just finished part 2. It is so good and so hard to read because there's a lot of dark things that happen. So sometimes it's hard to read. Definitely check trigger warnings, but it's good. I'm really enjoying it. I don't know what's gonna happen next. The war. It's a war. There's war. And it's a hard, difficult war. And there's this character, and the characters are complicated, and you want to love them, but you know you have to hate them. Or you want to hate them, but you can't help but love them. They're very good, very well done characters. So, and there's character arcs, characters change, character development. Maybe this is a good time to mention that I love character-driven story. This does have a very good plot, but like, when I read, it doesn't matter what kind of book it is. I just pay attention to the characters because that's my favorite thing. Because I feel like typically people fall in love with the characters over the story. I mean, probably a little bit of both, but I feel like, anyways, and it really does take my mind to a whole nother place. It's amazing. So, yeah, loving it. The next clip is probably gonna be me crying. Just wait. Sorry, I'm in my going out clothes, but I had to come back on here because I had a little bit more time to read before I'm going out. And y'all, the way that this author has manipulated my emotions, like characters that I used to hate, I like love and want to fiercely protect them and hope that they're okay. And characters that I used to like absolutely adore, I want to strangle. Like, I am so mad. There are namely 2 characters that have done a full 360, like where basically their positions in my head switched. I was like, oh, love this one, hate this one, and now it's the opposite. How can the author do that and like reveal these character traits that were there all along and it's believable, you know? It's not like, oh, he's suddenly a nice fella, love him. It's like a believable redemption. And then the other character's fall from grace was a really believable fall from grace. So it's done so well, and it is playing with my emotions. I'm a mess, and I'm expected to go out into the world like this. This is what this is what non-book readers don't understand, is that I go through these experiences of intense emotion, and I get so like attached to these characters and like it actually hurts or actually makes me really happy. And then I just have to move on. Like, I haven't just read the most like heartbreaking piece of literature. Everything has changed every time I read a book. Not every time. Most times I read a book, something in me changes. That doesn't carry, which is so weird. That people don't know what that's like. That's why when people are like, oh yeah, I don't read whatever, I don't really get into books, I get sad because I'm like, you're never gonna get to experience this like huge encompassing experience, you know? You're never gonna get that. Maybe I'm too deep into it. I don't know. I feel like I'm so short. I don't know why I thought that would help. This feels a little better. I don't know. I think I feel too much when it comes to books. I am a really sensitive person, so I think that that's translating in a bad way. Let me know if you've ever felt like this, or if I sound actually like called the loony bin. Take her away. Grippy sock vacation. Because if I do, that's concerning. If I don't, then I'm glad I found my people. Welcome to the fastest book talk ever. Not book T-O-K. B-T-A. No, B-O-O-K. T-A-L-K. Oh my god. Okay, because I have a lot to do today. So I finished The Poppy War. As you can see by my last clip, it was quite a shocking ending in a really good way. Quite the plot twist. Really enjoyable plot twist, not one that you see commonly. Clearly, because I was very shocked. I literally, that was really late at night, maybe like 2 a.m. and I was home for the weekend, so my family was asleep, so all I could do was sit there like this for a really long time. I don't know how long. I gave it 5 stars. It was really good. Greatly enjoyed it. Can't wait for the next 2. I got Babbel. My mom bought it for me because I finished this, and then I told her all about it even though she didn't want to hear it because I didn't have anyone else to talk to about it. And I was like, oh, and she wrote this other book that everyone's talking about. It's called Babbel, blah, 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 blah. Oh, hey, look, there's this bookstore. Let's go in. And then Babbel was like one of the big featured books in the bookstore. And so my mom picked it up and she was like, hey, look, it's the book you were just talking about. I was like, oh, haha, funny. And then she was like, we'll get it. I was like, oh, you treat me so well. So then we got Babbel. So I'll probably end up reading that before I read the next 2. But I do really want to read the next 2. 5 stars. 5 stars. 5 stars. The author's really talented. The writing style is so good. The plot is really good. The characters are really complex. I'm trying to think about any complaints that I had. If I had any complaints, it would be that it's really dark and it gave me an icky feeling. But that's just like a personal problem. I guess book reviews are subjective. So that's my one complaint, is that it's really dark. At first, you're kind of like, oh, okay. There is a big ass spider in my window. I really hate spiders. At the beginning, you're kind of like, oh, okay, I can see how it's dark. There's murder, that's dark. But no, it gets so much worse. It's war. And it's not like YA books where there's war and like, you know, I keep wanting to do quotes and like, you know, like massacres and that sort of thing. Because I mean, it's war. So there is that, but it's like, it leans more towards Game of Thrones type massacres and worse. I would just say check trigger warnings because it does get really dark and it made me feel really icky. Other than that, loved it. Absolutely loved it. Like, again, I can't tell you enough how much the characters were amazing and complex, and you want to root for them and you want them to fail at the same time. You're like, please, I hope you win, and also I hope it doesn't go well for you at the same time. It's like, how is that possible? That's just how good of a writer she is. I can't believe this is a debut novel. What the fuck is a novel? I can't believe this is a debut novel. 5 stars. If you have the ability to go out and read this book, go out, go read it. I highly encourage you to. Unless you're sensitive to violence, then do not go read it. Please do not go read it. So yeah, new favorite book just dropped. I hope you read it and enjoy it. And if this convinced you to read it, then do. And if this did not convince you to read it, then find someone else to convince you to read it, because you should.